everybody. Welcome to the first episode of Serial Chillers. I'm one of your hosts, Riley, and with me I have Vivienne,
Hello, everyone.
and we're from University of Michigan, Dearborn's Campus Video Network, CVN, and we're gonna do a couple of podcasts this year and try them out, see what's going on. This one's kind of a weird one, I guess. This one's about the book series known as Michigan Chillers, which is, I guess, more of a lesser known thing. More of a
It's
regional
very
thing, I should
niche.
say. Yeah. Yeah, you didn't even know about it until we mentioned it like a week and a half ago.
Yeah, I had no idea that this existed, and I've been living here for like my whole life. So,
Yeah, it's kind of a special thing for me. I grew up reading these books along with like Goosebumps, and I guess that's kind of how I would describe it as like Goosebumps, like Michigan themed Goosebumps. I
okay, so have you actually read the Goosebumps books?
Oh yeah, I read a ton of them. I used to have almost the entire original series when I was a kid on like all the books.
And would you say that they're actually quite similar, or is it just like that they have the same like
Hmm.
target audience?
That's a good question. I guess I would say they have the same target audience. Like if you've read Goosebumps, I mean, I think that the Goosebumps books are written a little bit better than these ones are, but I guess we'll get into that in a little bit. Basically, though, what they are is like they're goose. So imagine a Goosebumps book. Each book is about something different. It's a different story, and that's how these books are styled as well. Except the addition onto that is that each book takes place in a different town or city in Michigan, or just
Yeah.
I guess just a different location because I guess this book is about Mackinac Island, which is not a city in itself. It's more of just a tourist trap location.
It's an island.
It's an island. Have you been there before?
I have not, but I have come
No
very close
way.
to.
Okay.
I've been up north a couple times fairly recently. And we were just at the tippy top. Like we went to a beach one day, and we could see Mackinac Bridge. But yeah, I've
Hmm.
not been. Have you been?
I have been several times actually.
Okay, and does it live up to the hype, do you think?
Not for me personally. It's actually okay. I should say that the bike, like you can bike around the island, and that's pretty awesome. But
Mm-hmm.
everything else is, like I said, just kind of a tourist trap. Like you kind of go there to spend a lot of money, which doesn't make sense to me on a vacation, I guess. Just like to spend money for the fun of it. I don't know.
Yeah, I understand. I know
So,
what you mean.
I guess yeah, we'll just start getting into it. I mean, right? We both finished this book pretty recently. You finished it last night, and I
Last
finished
night?
it. Yep, and I finished it yesterday morning. Um,
Okay.
so I guess we should probably just go over like a general plot synopsis, and then we can kind of talk about what we took from it. I don't know how to phrase it.
Yeah, I guess we could just, like you said, talk about sort of like what it's about, and then we can really get into it. Parts that we liked, parts that we didn't like.
And there's a lot to
And
talk about
yeah.
with this. I was a little worried when we initially pitched this to everyone. Like, I'm not sure if this is gonna. I mean, this sounds like a fun idea, but I don't know how much there. Because I have I've read this book before, but like I completely blanked on any details about it whatsoever. So I was like, I don't know if it's like even gonna be worth reading. Like maybe it's just gonna be really boring. But no, I have a lot of notes to talk about. So I'm glad that it's not complete and a total loss of our time
No,
and money.
yeah, I agree. Towards the very beginning, I think like the first 20 pages, I was stressing out over not having any notes. But then I really got into it, that's when I started to write more things down, and I was like, oh, okay, I guess there is something to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
um, but yeah, okay. So basically, so the first book is Mayhem on Mackinac Island, um, and it is about these two kids, a brother and sister, who get sucked into
Do you
this
remember their
like
names?
alternate dimension. Uh, so the girl's name is Sandy,
Okay.
but she gets called Munchkin, and she does
Yep.
not like it.
Correct.
And her brother's name is Tim.
Okay. I wasn't sure if you.
Yeah.
I almost blinked when you said the brother and sister. I almost blinked on their names for a second. Oh,
Just flip the book over. It's on the back.
that's
It's like right
that's fair.
there.
It's also also that's how she starts. Like I hate how when books start like literally, my name is Sandy and I'm 12. It's like, oh my gosh, could you start in a more cliche
Anywhere else.
way?
Oh, so that's one thing that I don't know, it really stood out to me about this book, and I don't know if the rest of the series is this way. Um, but there were a lot of times when I was reading, and I could just picture like a cartoon character saying it. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Of course, like as an adult, it just doesn't resonate with me the same way that it might with a child, because I'm just like, okay, well, like this is super cliche. I've heard this a million times. Um, but at the same time, like I kept having to remind myself, this is a book for children. You can't be like
Right.
super critical of it. Like these are not, as someone who's like an English major, like kids don't have the background that you do, right? They're not looking for literary
Oh my gosh.
devices. They're just looking for fun. Um, but yeah,
Yeah,
that's one
and
thing that
there's
did stick
and
out to me.
it's I mean, really when you're reading it, it feels like it really feels like a kid wrote this book. Like there's so many like syntactical and like weird just like weird writing choices throughout the entire thing. It's hilarious almost how accurate it is to kids writing.
No, yeah, I like definitely agree. There's a couple things that I like make note of throughout the book that we can go into later on. But all
Yeah.
right, do you want to start us off and tell us like where and how we first meet Sandy and Tim?
Okay. So I guess they vacation on Mackinac Island for like the whole summer, which is like that means they're fucking loaded. Pardon, I shouldn't say the F word.
Yeah,
Sorry,
probably.
I'll censor that. Sorry. Um, but that means they're pretty rich. I would imagine if they have like an entire. Well, I guess they're actually visiting their relatives, aren't they? But
Yeah, their aunt and uncle.
yeah. So it's. I thought it was kind of weird. It's like they bike around, and then they see this weird old like Gandalf looking guy, and then for some reason it's like it starts in a different summer than the summer that like the majority of the book takes place in. Like what's the I don't understand the purpose of that.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, and it's sort of here, let me see if I can find like
Like why like they see the wizard and then they walk up to the wizard and then the wizard runs away, but the wizard wanted them to like the whole point of the book is that the wizard takes them into another dimension to like help save him. But why did he run away the first time? I just don't get it. It was like it didn't quite make sense.
I think maybe like the wizard was trying to prepare them for all the stuff they were about to go through. Um like
What?
okay, so I just got back to like chapter 4, and it's when they get stuck in the quicksand, right? So I think he was just like
Right.
testing them to see if
What
they
was
could
the
get out of
quicksand
it. Like,
about?
oh,
No, that doesn't make
okay.
any sense. Did he cast the quicksand? What is that? I didn't even consider the quicksand. I forgot about that completely.
I'm gonna be honest with you, a lot of this feels like a fever dream. Like I know
No,
I read
yes,
it, but part of me is like,
yes,
did I really though?
I
Did I
know.
really?
I feel it similarly insane. Yeah, so I guess we should explain in case our listeners don't know. So they go to this giant tree, which is on the cover of the original cover, and the new cover is complete trash, but the original cover is pretty awesome actually. Um, and they see the wizard, and then he runs away, and then Tim gets in quicksand for some reason, or just like some thick mud. I don't know. And then they save each other, and it's literally inexplicable why there's all this quicksand here. Like because the wizard's not a bad guy.
Right. And that's what I thought was really weird is how they kind of made him out to look
Yeah,
that way.
yeah,
But then in the end, like he turns out to be like a really good guy. Which
yeah.
actually, let's not say that he's a good guy because he does some questionable things, in my
Right.
opinion.
Well, he's kind of a
I
morally
think,
ambiguous character.
yeah, I don't know if I would classify someone who like lures children in to like put their lives at risk a good
Exactly.
person.
I know. What is his thinking? Oh my gosh. Why does he want kids? Why does it? I mean, I guess it's all he can like feasibly get to cause kids are the only ones who are dumb enough to like, oh, a wizard by a tree. I'll just walk over there. Like an adult wouldn't do that. I would hope. But I guess I. Oh my gosh. I guess when he said he was trapped in there for like 7,000 years. So I guess at that point you just get desperate.
I guess, yeah, it makes sense.
But
There was something
so
that he said that like stood out to me.
uh-huh.
Oh my gosh. He said something like, "Ah, yes, you guys are small and
Uh,
perfect," or something like that.
he did? There's
Oh
no way
my
I'm gonna
gosh,
find it, but
where
I'm
is it? I'm
looking.
trying to find it.
That's really funny. So the first time they see the wizard, it's one summer, and then the next summer they see him again, and they walk up to him one more time, and um,
Which, who in their right mind does that?
right, no, seriously, and they're very haphazard about it too, especially the second time. So I just, but whatever. It is. I mean, I don't know. There's the thinking of the logic of it will just drive you crazy. So, but he lures them in. I mean, that's no better way to put it. He literally lures them to the tree, and the tree comes to life and grabs them and like I guess eats them or something, and then they're transported like Narnia
Yeah.
style to the Isle of Mayhem, which is like alternate reality or alternate dimension Mackinac Island.
Yeah, because like even the kids say like, "Oh, this is where the bridge would be, and this is
Yeah,
where the Grand Hotel would be." So it is
yeah,
supposed to be like Mackinac Island itself, except this is a Mackinac Island that has like these warty things that fly and try to eat children. And
yeah.
then like, oh my gosh, the bulldog. It's
Wait,
literally
we're
a
getting
bulldog. Like it has horns.
Oh my gosh. And you know what? They come and they go after like one chapter, and I was really hoping they just didn't come back and there was no explanation or anything, but at the end we'll get to that later. But I just love that the description of the description of the world is just like the trees are green or something like it's not like anything weird. It's just like normal trees that are like blue leaves or something. It's just the most basic description of like a fantasy world.
Oh, here, I found the quote. So it's on page 45.
Okay,
Um and it's
that far in.
after Sandy asks him like, what do you want?" And then he just keeps looking at both of them, like looking at Sandy, looking at Tim, looking at Sandy, looking at Tim. And then he says, "Yes, yes, I think you'll do. You both look healthy, healthy and strong enough. You'll work out perfect."
Ugh.
What the hell?
That is, yeah, that's a little skeevy.
That's
I don't know
really
how I feel about
weird.
that. I didn't even like pick up on that when I first read it, but ugh.
And these kids are just like, "Okay."
I mean, I would just like to say there's like a general feeling amongst the children, like between them, I should say, that's like they're kind of like nonchalant about it. Like,
Yeah,
do
about
you?
everything.
Yeah, like I mean, every time something goes wrong, it's like such a sarcastic response from Sandy. She's just like they're like, "Oh, there's a giant sea snake. How could things get any worse?" Like it's so and it happens every time something bad happens to them. She's like so snarky. And it's like, dude, you're in a life or death situation. Take it a little seriously. I just don't
Oh
understand
my
how they could
gosh.
like I can't even I would have been frozen with fear if if I had to be there at that age, like at 12 years old or whatever.
Yeah, also, that's another thing. Is like reading this, parts of it really resonated with like 8-year-old me, but 8-year-old and like 12-year-old is different. By 12, I would hope that you would take these kinds of things more seriously, but
Right. You
no,
have
she's
some
very
sense of
like just super whatever.
yeah.
You're almost
Like
a
if
teenager, dude. Come on.
exactly, if the kids were like 4 years old, I might understand like they're just kind of like I mean, they'd probably be scared, but they would probably be like, "Oh, what's this is crazy," or I don't know. But yeah, like a 13-year-old has to feel like the danger at some point.
Yeah, not really. Not until like they're almost dying. That's when it finally hits. Like, oh, okay. But even at that, so one thing that I thought was really funny, like genuinely funny, and I think it's because it resonates like so much with me, is how they are put in these situations where like they're almost dying. And instead of being like, oh shoot, I'm gonna die, or like, oh no, how are we gonna get out of this? It's like, man, mom and dad are gonna be real mad if they find out about
Yes.
this.
Yes. They're like, "Oh, we're going to be grounded for sure." It's like, "Dude, you better just hope you survive, bro." Like your life is at stake, dude.
I thought that was so funny. Because, like,
It is.
I don't know. I think it's maybe just like oldest child syndrome, but I definitely like felt that on a spiritual level. Not now, of course, but maybe like 7 or 8 year old me would have thought the same thing. Like, heaven forbid I got warped into like an alternate dimension where things are trying to kill me. And like, I'm thinking, like, oh no, my mom's gonna be
My
so
mom
mad
and
at me.
dad.
She's gonna take away my V smile. Like,
Oh my gosh. Okay. um,
okay, so these kids meet this guy. What's his
yeah.
name?
It's
Great
like a long name.
Tut something.
It's the Great Tutworth, but his full name is something with like salami in it, or I don't know. It's like an attempt at
Yeah,
humor. I'm sure kids would think it's hilarious.
it's the Great Salami Knocking Buck Mortimer Jeremiah Tutworth. And the kids, even the kids, understand that this is like insane. But he's like, yeah, just call me Tut. Like, just call me the Great
Just
Tutworth.
call me Dad. And then let's just detail this man's plan. Let's just yeah. So his idea is to pull he's trapped in this forest apparently. He can't leave. So he gets these kids and he tells them you need to go get the stone key from Skull Mountain, which is on the other side of the Isle of Mayhem, so that I can get out and you can also go home. So he kidnaps them, like maliciously so. Even if it is to save his life, it's like he's a bad guy, really.
He puts him through hell. Like, he couldn't have just. I mean, it would still be creepy either way, but
Right.
he could have been nicer about it. Like, hey, please help me, I'm trapped. Come to this like alternate universe. No, he like makes a tree eat them.
Yeah. No, that I mean that's it's like why does the tree need to eat? I don't know. That's why it's like he seems so evil at first. Like the author really makes you think he's evil, but then
Hmm.
he like I mean he's not. I thought at the end of the book they were gonna do a twist, and he's like, now that I have the stone key, I can like kill everyone, ah ha ha, or something. I don't know, but he didn't do that at all.
No.
He was just like a genuinely good guy. I mean, somewhat at least. Like he had good
Ish.
intentions. But then so then he sends them off. But he gives them the stones. He gives them the dragonfly stone and the spider stone. And I guess so the dragonfly stone has this like it lets you fly, but randomly it's like only once per day. But the spider stone lets you climb whenever you want. I don't understand that.
Which is really useless.
The
Well,
spider stone
I mean,
really
it
doesn't
ends up being
seem.
helpful,
No,
but
no, they don't even have. No, because okay, we'll get like. So at some point they have to cross the River of Dreams, and they can't. They meet a gnome. Don't. That's kind of unimportant. The gnome's not even. They don't even give the gnome a name. But they meet a gnome, and he's like, "You gotta cross the River of Dreams. Don't look into the River of Dreams." And he's like, "Okay, they won't do that." Obviously the kid does, and it's like a whole big thing. But they find. Did they run into the Bulldogs before they crossed the river?
it was right after they crossed the river.
Oh, okay. So, well, wait, but on the way back, they run into the Bulldogs. Oh, maybe it's a different cave then. I just assumed it was the same cave. Whatever. I feel like our audience is going to be so lost at this point. Like, what are you talking about? We're jumping all over. But basically, okay. So, scratch what I was saying. I just wasn't able to follow the continuity. It's like the details are not very clear.
Yeah. So he gives them these little
Right?
stones, right? One of them's got like a spider, the other one's got like, is it a dragonfly?
It's a
I don't
dragonfly.
know. They've got these things carved into them.
Uh
And he
huh.
basically says, so these are going to help you, right? And again, you can only use the flying stone once a day because flying takes a great deal of power. But as Riley mentioned earlier, you can use the spider climbing stone whenever you want. So then the kids are kind of just like, okay, we'll like start heading out and about into the Isle of Mayhem.
Yeah.
Um, and I think he doesn't he like throw them in the ocean somewhere, like through a portal or something? Because I know after they meet him, they somehow end up on water or like in the water. Sorry, I should say.
They do.
Um,
I'm remembering
and
that now.
then that is when they meet. Is that the gnome?
I'm looking.
Or they?
I didn't take notes on that. There's too much for me
I
to
feel like we
handle.
should probably take notes on plot.
I was really just taking note of like the funny stuff that happened.
Yeah, same here.
I don't know. They met a gnome. They meet a gnome. That's the most important thing. And they run into the wart wings, which are like flying lizard. I mean, on the cover of the new edition, it's like flying lizard guys or frog-looking guys with like long tongues.
Oh, they've got them on there? Dang.
Yeah. Oh, you
I
didn't
don't
see the
have
new
them
cover?
online. No.
I love the
You'll
old
have to
cover,
send
and
me a
it's like
picture of it.
classic. Yeah, I will.
It's pretty cool, yeah. They even have like the little useless stones
Yeah, I remember that.
on the bottom.
Yeah. I mean, this. I guess we should also mention that like this is supposed to be scary. This is more like Lord of the Rings than like like a scary story.
That's why I asked the question earlier about like Goosebumps and is it really like Goosebumps? Because so I've never read the Goosebumps books, right?
Oh.
But I would watch the TV shows,
Mm-hmm.
and some of them scared the crap out of me. Like some of them were genuinely scary.
Yeah.
And this book, I felt scared never. There's one thing that I thought
No.
like the idea of was terrifying, but we'll get to that.
Okay.
But generally, like I didn't feel scared. It felt like, so I remember I must have been like 7 or something, and I read a Magic Treehouse book, and it almost
Mm-hmm.
felt like that. It was just like an adventure. Like,
Yeah, it's more
I
of an
mean, I
adventure
guess,
in a fantasy world.
right, yeah, I guess the kids are put into like scary situations, but there's nothing really scary about
I
it.
mean,
Um,
the only scary thing, I mean, quote unquote scary, I'm doing air quotes here, that is would be considered scary is like he ends every chapter on a cliffhanger, and that's what Goosebumps does too. But I feel like R.L. Stein's a bit more conservative with it than Jonathan Rand is. But it's just like I
oh
mean,
no, it's like,
every chapter.
yeah, like every chapter, but it's always like, but I would never be prepared for what was to come next, or something like that. And you're like, oh my gosh, now I have to find what happened next.
It's always it's always like nothing worse could have possibly happened right then than what did happen at that moment. And then the next chapter's like it was a pumpkin on a tree and I got a little scared. Like it's never as bad as they make it out to be or they solve it within the first few sentences of the next chapter.
Which I always think is really funny because there's this build up, right? And the way this book is sort of like set up is there's just a lot of space that's not used.
Yes.
So you get like some blank pages, and they
Yeah.
leave on a cliffhanger like that. Or sorry, they end on a cliffhanger like that. And then you flip the page, and there's a blank page, and then on the next page over, half the page is empty.
Right.
So when you finally get to reading it, within the first line, like the problem's already solved.
Yeah. I
It's
mean
kind
the
of like,
book
oh,
I mean, yeah, the book's 170 pages of like actual text, and I would imagine that like just 37 chapters, which is like insane. That's so many chapters. I would imagine that at least like 75% of the chapters have an extra blank page after them. So that's
oh
like
yeah,
what? Like 25 blank pages out of 170. So you're really it's kind of like cheating you out of the length of the novel.
oh yeah. Like so I will say one of the things that I appreciate about this book is that it made me feel like a really fast reader.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
But the the text is just really big and there's a lot of blank space.
Yep.
So I really am not. But yeah, I think if we were to like fix the font so that it would be whatever the font of like regular adult books are, and then fix the pages, we probably have like 90 pages worth of stuff.
I
And
would
I
say
think
even
even
less
that
than
might be
that.
generous.
I think that's
Yeah.
I think that's extremely generous. I'm thinking this is like a couple thousand, like just over 10,000 words.
No, it's very small.
It's
Um, there's
extremely
not a lot.
short.
But I will give him credit. Like he was able to cover a lot. I mean, he didn't really go in
There,
depth into a
so,
lot of things, but
yeah,
there's a lot that happens, and I
so
was
much
not
happens.
anticipating that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like the next thing after the River of Dreams thing, that's when they run into the Bulldogs, which are a literal interpretation of what it sounds like. It's a dog with
Bulldogs.
bull horns, right? And I don't know
And
what
even
dogs. I
Sandy
imagine
laughs at
them.
that.
Yeah, she figures the pun out for herself. Which I guess this universe is like we're gonna make puns of our creatures' names. I don't understand why, but that's fine. I don't know what dogs you imagine, but I was picturing pugs in my head.
Ah, okay. I was picturing like an actual bulldog, but with horns.
Oh
So
no,
just like this
I don't.
big, like fat, friendly thing with horns on it.
No, I imagined a pug for sure with huge horns.
Really?
Like yeah, like not proportional to the body size at all.
Oh, that's really funny, actually.
I think that would be. I mean, I
No,
hope that's what his intention was because I think that's very good.
I was picturing like so like a bulldog, but like Clifford size, and then maybe just like
N-
regular horns, not too big, not too small, like
Oh,
just a bit
really?
bigger than like nubs. Yeah, that's what I was
Oh, I was
imagining.
imagining like a pug, like an actual pug size with giant horns, but you did the exact opposite, which is giant dog with like smaller horns.
Smallish horns.
That's funny. I mean, he's
I'll
not. I
take
don't think
both.
he's very. Yeah, I think both are good interpretations. Honestly, I don't think he's very descriptive about it.
No, not really. The one thing that he is very descriptive is the worst parts. So let's just be thankful that he wasn't super descriptive with the rest of the creatures here, but we'll get to that. So Riley, you mentioned the River of Dreams.
Yeah.
Should we talk about that? I
I
feel
mean,
like we
actually,
should.
it's kind of an interesting idea. Yeah, we should jump back to that. I like that idea. It's like kind of cool.
You think so? I think it's kind of terrifying.
Oh, that's like a good. Is that what you were talking about? Is like the one scary thing?
Um, no, I'm thinking about
Oh,
like an actual creature. We'll get to it.
okay.
But now that I think about it, like this idea is actually kind of it's a bit scary. So
It's kind of
essentially there's this
existential,
you think so?
a little bit. You yeah, explain it. So they yeah, explain it.
Okay. So there's basically like this river in the Isle of Mayhem. Um, and if you look at it, you will start to have like these hallucinations, right? And the hallucinations will sort of like tell you to touch the river. And if you get just a little itty bitty drop of like the river water on your skin, um, then all of your dreams come true, but also all of your nightmares. So you are put in like this weird state of like these weird hallucinations where like
Mm-hmm.
all your best dreams come true and then also like everything you have ever like been super afraid of also comes true. So people just essentially, I would imagine, go insane. And
Yeah.
there's no way of getting you back from that. Did I
No,
do a good
that's
job of explaining?
no, yeah, that's how that's I mean, that's pretty much it. And that's kind of how I would see it. Is like you go insane basically, which is like kind of a heavy topic for a kid's book,
It
but
is, yeah.
he's not presenting it that way because he's just saying, dreams and nightmares, but really I mean, it's just like having delusions and hallucinations that like make you paralyzed are it's basically what I mean, how else could you describe going insane other than that, I guess.
No, yeah, that's really scary. So, Riley, would you want to, or what would you do if you had accidentally like dipped your hand
Just
in,
just put
in
me
the
out of
river
no,
of
just put
dreams?
just end me, dude. Just at that point, just put me out of my misery. I don't that's the I'm far gone.
Right, yeah, because even if you like just glance at it, then you'll start to get like voices in your head that tell you,
Yeah,
touch it, like
which is what happened to
touch the
Tim.
river. Yeah, he did.
But
So do you
it
want to
seemed
talk
pretty
about
easy
that?
to get him out of it because all she had to say was, "I'm gonna throw away all your video games," like stereotypical like young boy things or whatever. And he's like, "What? You can't do that. I'll tell mom and dad or something." And he's like, "Oh, it's fine, whatever." Not that much. I guess the river is not that powerful. Not more powerful than a boy's love for his
For his
Super
video
Mario
games,
Kart.
that's true. That's true.
So
I'm trying
after
now
the
that we're talking about it, I'm
yeah.
trying to think of like what would happen to me, like what I would see if I
Oh,
were to touch the River of Dreams.
probably like One Direction or something.
How old do you think
I
I
would
am?
wager. I mean, it's not a question of your age. It's a question of your interests, and I know that you are interested in One Direction.
I was Riley.
Yeah.
There's no reason for us
There's
to
no
bring that
was.
up.
There's no, there's no was. It's is. It's currently. I feel like I own like I don't listen to One Direction, and I never did, but I feel like I still hear about them because of you.
How? I don't talk about them
I
anymore.
no, you do. Don't lie. Not super often, but definitely
Riley's so
enough for
full
me to
of
be
shit.
like,
Oh
you
my
still. No,
god.
I'm not. Don't say that. No, I I'm no.
I think
Absolutely
I
not.
would. I'm trying to think of like the best dream that I had.
Okay, think of it. None of my dreams are ever
uh,
good. My dreams, I think I only have nightmares.
oh no.
Cause and I mean that seriously. Like none of my dreams are ever like happy dreams. Like it's always just like weird stuff happening, and I never like the dreams that I have.
Riley,
I'm serious. That's what it's scary.
that's
Like
so
they're just like,
upsetting.
and it's never like anything super weird. Like I don't like dream about like monsters or anything, but like just like normal social situations, it would like strange stuff happens.
I can't even think of like a good dream that I had. But
It's
I will
hard to
say
remember
like my
them.
most reoccurring dream, it happens every single time I have to wake up early for something. I'll dream that I'm running late to it. Like that is I dream about that
Hmm.
at least once a week. So that's what I would see if
So
I like
you would
dipped
just
my hand in
panic.
the river of
Yeah, you
dreams.
would just panic
Yeah,
and
just
think you're
panic
running
over
late.
not waking up early. Um,
Well,
yeah.
okay, so they get past they get past the river of dreams, and then they meet the bulldogs. I mean, nothing really happens with the bulldogs other than they just like take them to their cave, and then they go to sleep, and then they wake up and they're gone for some reason.
Wait, they go to sleep?
Yeah, oh yeah, they go to sleep.
Oh, okay. I'm glad you mentioned that because like one of my notes was let me see if I can find it.
When do they sleep?
Oh, no, never mind. It was so I wrote it when I was on page 122. And it was something that I was thinking about. Is like these kids haven't ate this whole time.
Oh yeah, no, they don't. They don't.
They
That's
don't eat.
true.
How?
And
I
they don't
think
drink
that
water
thought just
either. They
occurred to me because I
sleep,
was
but they
really
don't eat or
hungry.
drink. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
fair.
how are these kids alive? But
That's
yes, they do nap. Never mind. Go ahead.
they
Carry
do
on.
have a good night. I think they sleep. I think they're there for like 3 or 4 days.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and then after the bulldogs, they what happens? They run into they get to Skull Mountain.
Um,
Why is it? And I made a note. Why is it so easy to walk up to Skull Mountain?
you would imagine it would be harder, right?
Right. Like they have no
Especially
issue.
so when like every character, creature, whatever in this book finds out like what these kids are doing, which is going to Skull Mountain to get the stone key, they're always like, "Oh, are you like out of your mind?" Like no one does that. Like no one has
Yes,
ever made it out alive.
I
But
know.
to get to Skull Mountain, like it's pretty easy. They just walk right up there. Like
Yeah,
that's
there's
it.
no, there's literally stairs. There's like stairs,
Yeah.
and they have no issue. And then there's like a wall, and they get to a wall eventually, and then there's a secret door in the wall. But they figure it out in like 2 seconds with no problem. It's like, what's the point of putting a wall there?
Right.
Like,
Yeah,
because
it
if you
just
have them
doesn't
solve it in 2 seconds, it doesn't matter.
make a lot of sense, does it?
No, and then they get inside. There's like a ticket guy. There's a ticket booth.
Oh, that was trippy. I imagined like
Yeah.
so if this was a cartoon, I would imagine that scene would just be very dark, and then there would just be like a red fluorescent light under like the ticket man's chin, and he would have like a very like deep, booming voice.
Oh, that's
Um,
spooky.
but before we get to that, I thought it was really funny how the whole time they're talking about Skull Mountain, right?
Yeah.
And then when they finally get there, this is on page 69. Sandy says, "Suddenly we saw what he was talking about. I had thought it was just a mountain of rock, but now I looked a little closer. But now that I looked a little closer, I could make it out. What I saw sent chills through my body. It was a skull. The biggest skull I'd ever seen. It's called Skull Mountain!"
I can't believe that Skull Mountain looks like that. Oh my gosh.
It reminded me of, and they were roommates. Oh my god, they were
Oh
roommates.
my gosh, it was a skull?
Oh my
I
gosh,
mean,
it was a
there's so
skull.
many moments like that throughout the entire book. They make the most obvious, like, observations. Oh my gosh, it's hilarious. Ugh.
I will say the part where they are actually like in the skull and they make out that they're in like the eyeball, that was pretty gnarly. Like that kind of ugh, that that
Well,
it
but
grossed me out just
before
a little
that,
bit.
they trick the ticket guy,
Oh,
and then
that's right.
they like there's a turn they jump a turnstile. Like, did you notice that they like literally jump a turnstile like in New York subways or something?
What?
Yeah, you don't know that? Crap. What page is it on?
Where they like just hop over it without paying for their
Yeah.
ticket. Which okay, I will say this was one of the most like logical parts of it, and I really appreciate it because so they asked this guy for a ticket because he can't enter without one. And
Right.
Tim is like, "Sandy, we don't have any money." And like I'm so glad he said that because that's what I was thinking. Like, how are you gonna pay for this ticket? You have no money.
What even counts as they don't really even explain what currency is in this world either. So it's
Yeah, they don't.
and then so they jump the
Oh,
turnstile. There's a metal gate. I just imagined a turnstile in my head, but
Riley, you forgot to mention, what do they need a ticket for? Like, yes, it's enter the Skull Mountain or whatever, but why do they need a ticket? Do you remember?
that's well, they just run down a hallway and then fall
Yeah,
into a
so,
hole.
no, no, no. There's like a sign that says stop, no admittance without tickets. And the kids are
Right.
like, well, what do we need a ticket for? And he says, that they need a ticket for the Stone Key show. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah.
Go ahead. Do you want to read it off? Because I thought this was weird.
Everyone has heard of the Stone Key Show. It's about a couple of kids who try and steal the Stone Key from Skull Mountain. They have all kinds of problems, then they wind up getting eaten by blinkmongers. Oh no! That's what
That's horrible.
it says.
But they continue to go. Like, it tells them what's going to happen to them, and they kind of just ignore it. Like,
I
they
think
just keep
it's
going.
just a scare tactic, you know? He's just trying to frighten them off.
Would you not be frightened off?
I
I
mean, but
would.
yeah, but we've already established that these kids are not right in the head necessarily. Like, they have no fear of death whatsoever.
Fair enough.
Bravest children of all time. But I mean, but the real
That's
issue is
fair.
that why is the ticket taker there? I guess it is just a scare tactic because literally they just run down the hall like a straight hallway, and then they just fall into a hole, a pit of water, like a well or something.
And what happens when they fall into the pit of water?
They can't climb. They lost their stones,
Oh, yeah, that's right. So
so
they
they
can no
can't
longer
fly or
fly,
anything
and they
or
can't
climb.
climb.
Yep,
These kids are going to drown to death,
basically.
essentially.
But then they meet another incredible. I mean, just truly insane character, Warren Otterpuss. Which, by the way, if it's so he's an octopus mixed with an otter. So, but they used. Why do they put two s's on the end of it? Because an octopus only has one s.
Ah,
So I don't understand. I feel like the two s's is kind of weird. I mean,
Otterpuss.
it should just be one.
I think that's just to like emphasize that he is part octopus.
It doesn't make any sense.
He's not an otterpuss. He's an otterpuss. Okay?
No, it makes you think of
And
like a cat though. It's not an otter cat.
ah, okay, I see what you mean.
It doesn't.
This was the most terrifying part of the book for me because
What really?
why 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 an otterpuss? And
It is
also,
very
so
random.
I'm trying to picture what this thing looks like, right?
Right.
And at first, I just pictured, okay, like it's an otter's head, and then it just has like the tentacles that are
Right.
all slimy and gross.
Yep.
And that already is just super terrifying
Pretty
because it
awful.
reminds me of the little, like, weird baby thing from Toy Story. Do you remember that?
Oh geez, yeah.
It
Yeah,
reminds me
like the
of that. And,
spider
like,
thing.
that, even as an adult, like, that still freaks me out. And as a child, like, that thing really, really scared me. So the idea of this is just really gross and kind of terrifying to me.
It's pretty,
But
yeah.
no, that's not what he looks like.
Yeah.
So where's the
They ex-
description of it?
they explain.
Ugh.
I know. I had when they introduced him, I had the same thought as you. Like, I wonder what this thing looks like. He talks funny too. Like he's like this like kind of silly little like quirky character. I kind of like him as a character in terms of like how he is, but yeah, he has tentacles. He has tentacles. On page 116, it says Warren Otterpuss looked exactly like he said he was, a cross between an otter and an octopus.
Oh.
I must say I've never seen anything like him. He had 8 arms like an octopus, but his body wasn't all slimy and rubbery. It was covered with a layer of thin, fine fur that gleamed in the sunshine. He had the nose of an otter with long, dark whiskers and 2 big blue eyes and small, pointy ears. So what they're saying is that he doesn't have like otter paws. He has 8 tentacles with like an otter
That are
body, which is like
fuzzy.
worse than what we initially imagined. Yeah, and he's fuzzy, right? Ugh,
Oh, that makes me really uncomfortable. Like
like
it
it's
makes my
slimy
skin
but
itch.
also furry.
That's so
I don't like.
gross.
I liked him, but I don't like him anymore.
No, know. See, that's what I'm saying. And like it just went from worse to worser. Like why is he a fuzzy octopus? I can't think of anything more disgusting.
I know you can't combine slime and fur, and like that's an unsettling image.
It's just really gross.
Oh my gosh, it
But
is
I will say,
disgusting.
I like the way that he talks. Like,
He like repeats everything.
they ask him if he will help them, and he says, "Ah, yes, a jam, a fix, a quandary, a problem, a complication, an annoyance, a complexity, a concern. Tell me, what kind of conundrum do you find yourself in?" And the kids are like, "A what?" And he basically repeats the same thing until they
Yeah,
finally
I
understand, like,
know he's like
"Oh,
a
a
funny little
problem."
guy.
Yeah, he's
I
pretty
know he
cool,
is.
but
He's
he looks
pretty cute.
gross.
Yeah, as long as you just don't like see him or think about him, he's pretty great.
He's cool.
And then he basically just like gives them the keys to the kingdom, right? Like he just like shows them a secret passageway, and then they're at the stone key. So it's like, but he also tells them, it's really dangerous. Don't go. You're not gonna want to. You're not gonna make it out alive. Like it's so dangerous. But then he just like swims them there, and then they have literally no problem getting into the cave with the stone key at all.
Right, which I thought was just really weird. Like, how has no one
Done it?
successfully
Yeah.
done this before?
All they had to do, I could do this no problem. All you had to do was walk up some stairs and then fall into a hole, get saved by some Deus Ex Machina otter octopus thing, and then he just takes you where you need to go, and you're perfectly fine. There's nothing challenging about that at all,
Except for
except for what?
what happens next.
They go in the cave. The cave is made of gold, and then they find the stone key, and then they take it.
Oh, so, okay, so you mentioned how, like, the cave is made of gold. Tim is such an idiot. Like, this kid really contemplates, like, taking some gold back home.
Oh
He's like,
right,
we'll be rich. And I'm like, this is how people end up dead.
yeah, dude. Take a lesson. Take a
um,
lesson from like Indiana Jones.
Right, like you just don't touch things. Like you're already about to die because you
Exactly.
got the stone key. Which they almost do because so after they get the stone key, like the whole mountain starts like crumbling and falling
Right.
apart.
What a
And
weakness.
there's basically like an earthquake. And these kids have to like run out of there before they get like just demolished by all this stone that's like falling
Yeah.
from everywhere.
Just take a second and think. Like, think how easy they've spent. All these people who are living in fear of this like this king or whoever King Balderdash is. We didn't even mention that, but that's what King Balderdash is, like the big bad guy. You never see him, but like just imagine like a civilization being subjugated by this king for like thousands of years, and all in like the otter warren. All he had to do was swim into the cave, and it would be fine. They spent 7,000 years not doing that. What is wrong with them? It doesn't make any sense.
No, there's definitely something in the air on this like Isle of Mayhem because like it just never clicked with anyone to do
I
this.
know.
Which like I can kind of sympathize because maybe they were just really scared, but at the same time, wait, actually no, they did say that some people have attempted it. But I want to
Right,
know
but
like
what killed
were those
them?
people,
Yeah.
yeah, like what went wrong because 12-year-olds, come on. 12-year-old kids were able to like do this.
Yeah. They have a whole like colony of bulldogs, and they just don't. They just don't do it.
They just don't bother. They're like, ah, we'll be
Right.
miserable. We'll
I mean,
continue being miserable.
the only real danger happens after they take it, which like the mountain collapses and then releases like thousands and thousands of wart wings. But that begs the question, like what were they afraid of other than the mountain collapsing? But at that point, you already have the key.
Yeah,
I
you
don't.
just have to get to the other side.
I'm clearly thinking way too into it, because Jonathan Rand did not consider that at all.
Or you know what? Maybe he did, and he was like, I can't be bothered.
Kids don't care. Yeah, I
It
mean,
is
to
what
be
it
fair,
is.
kids don't give a crap. I certainly didn't as a kid. Like, I would have been just like, whoa, Skull Mountain, dude. That's so cool. It's a mountain, looks like a
That's one thing that we'll
skull.
have to like
How
keep
original.
reminding ourselves. Like as we're reading these books, is like these are for kids.
It's for children. Yeah,
Just
it's for children.
take them for what they are. They are for kids. It does not have to make sense. They just have to be cool,
Right.
which they are kind of.
I think the other books
Um,
are, like, get more, like, traditionally scary. Like, this one really
oh, do
seemed
they?
like,
Okay.
if I remember correctly, they like, because the other ones have like more simple themes. Like this one was kind of like a big, like this is kind of a large concept to undertake of like a journey across an unknown land in like another dimension. But the other ones are like pretty simple, like oh, there's a ghost in the house or something like that kind of thing. So
Oh,
I think
okay.
I think they
So
simplify it later on.
then I'm really excited to read the rest because like this wasn't bad, but I want to be scared at least
Right,
a little bit.
right.
All right, so the kids they get the stone key. They're like trying to run
Yep.
all the way back to like the captive forest, which is where the great Tut dude is at. And now that Skull Mountain like is basically demolished because of the earthquake, there's all these Wartwings trying to come after them. And they're like running and running and running. And the Bulldogs, a bunch of them, come to the
Hmm.
rescue.
Which is just kind of like a great mental image of like, at least for me, because I mean for you they were big dogs, but for me I was like these I was imagining like these tiny pugs like just like nipping at the feet of these flying creatures.
Oh, no, actually, I like your image better now
It's just
because that is
funnier in
really
my head.
cute.
And then they also run into the Blinkmongers, which we haven't mentioned up to this point really. They're in the story a couple of times, but they don't really seem to pose a threat all that much because they're really
Yeah.
slow apparently.
So those are like these big, like monkey kind of looking things.
Yeah,
But they're called blinkmongers because they've got these gigantic eyes, like just huge. I think they said that they were like the size of their head,
yeah.
which that is
Which
pretty scary, I would say.
it's ridiculous. I love. He's like, what should one of the bad guys be? Oh, monkey with big eyes. Good thinking. Like, come on.
But also, like, he just made them really slow.
They're not a threat in any way. They're like the kids are faster than them, which is like, what's the point of them then?
Oh, we forgot to mention that. So the otterpuss finds their like their stones that they lost, right? And he gives them to the kids. Or no, it wasn't the otterpuss.
The
Was it
dogs
the
did.
bulldog?
Which is
Yeah,
okay. The
yeah.
dogs find it, and that's the thing is after they climb back over the tree that was over the river of dreams, which they initially needed the spider stone to do, but they didn't have it. So how did they climb back over without the spider stone? Because they didn't get it. They
Um,
didn't get it until after and that's why I thought the bulldogs were before the river because they meet the bulldogs and get the stones back after they climb back over the river going back to the captive forest. She was on his back like okay, I guess we didn't explain this, but at the first time they go over the river, she's like on his back like koala bear style. And he like carries her over using his spider stone, or that's what I was under the assumption of. Like, why would he carry her over unless he was using the stone? But then they do the same thing on the way back, and he doesn't have the stone.
maybe the stone is just a placebo.
Maybe
And Tim is actually like a really good climber.
the power it was in his heart all along.
That's where it was.
But
We
that
don't
means
need no
like
stone.
the spiders. If it's not that, which I don't think it is because they literally don't hint to that at all. But like that means the spider stone was essentially useless because they use it once to climb over a tree, which you could do without. Like I could do that. I mean, it
Without
might be
it.
scary, but
Yeah. And also like he did it efficiently considering the fact that there was like all these wings trying to get them. So I'm surprised they didn't like just fall into the river really. But maybe it was that like adrenaline of them knowing like, "Oh, well, we have to do it or else we're going to die."
right,
Okay, so they're able to go back into the captive forest. And
correct.
then what happens, Riley?
They use the stone key and it changes the Isle of Mayhem into the Isle of
Mhm.
Miracles.
Which is what it originally was.
Yes, and then
Yeah.
they're able to go home with the big portal, and then they get back, and the big twist is like, oh, mom and dad, weren't you worried that we were gone for like 3 days? And they're like, what are you talking about? You were gone for 5 minutes. And the kids are like, what?
What?
Which is like, I knew that was gonna happen, but I think it would have been a better ending if there was like a search party out for them or something.
Oh my god.
Like they just assumed the worst. They just assumed that these kids got kidnapped by a murderer or something.
That would have been an excellent twist. I would have loved to see that.
That would have been.
It's
It
like
would
just
not
the
have
parents
been-
freaking out,
Yeah.
like helicopters everywhere.
It would have been an appropriate ending for a children's book, but it would have been very funny.
No, but I think it would have been appropriate. Like, hey kids, don't follow like some weird wizard dude into the forest
There really
and
wasn't a
get
lesson
eaten by a
here.
tree.
Yeah,
No, there really wasn't.
It-
Except
it-
for
don't lose your stone.
exactly.
That's
Yeah,
all there
don't
was.
don't lose your placebo stone. That doesn't really work.
Yeah, don't lose your stone that is almost entirely useless, and become victim to random wizard in the forest.
Yeah, let him solve his own problems.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I mean, the best thing about this book, in my opinion, is like the last like chapter because
Oh
this
yeah.
happens every single book. By the way, they meet the kid from the next book,
Oh my gosh.
which is
I
like
wanted to
which is
ask you about
yeah,
that.
I mean, it's truly genius. Like not even ironically, like it is a genius way to like connect these stories. Like
Yeah, so
I love it.
should we read it?
Yeah. Oh yeah, we should explain.
So the next book is
Terror
Terror
stalks
Stalks Traverse City.
Trevor. Yeah.
Um, and so she meets this kid. What's his name? Matt.
Matt.
And this is like a kid that she sees on Mackinac Island like frequently, like every year he comes up for
Mm-hmm.
like a week or something. And she tells him, "Wait till I tell you what happened to my brother and I yesterday." And then Matt replies, "Me first, because you're not going to believe what happened to me last Christmas in Traverse City." Dot dot dot, and it just
I
like
know.
ends there.
It's
So as a
oh,
reader,
mwah.
even as an adult, you're like, oh well crap, like I gotta get the next book
I
because I want to know
gotta
what happened
buy
in
it.
Traverse City.
And I'm hoping that I mean the series isn't done, but I'm hoping that when the series is finished, they just like it's like a big loop basically.
Oh,
I want
that'd
it
be
to be like an
sick.
Ouroboros or something, and just like eating its own tail, just start like the like time as a circle kind of a thing.
Oh, I love that. That
That
would
would
be
be
really
great.
cool.
That's the book. We it took a long. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, it took almost an hour, but yeah, that's the book. We went through it. I mean, to be fair, I think we skipped over a lot because I mean we got all the basic plot points, but there was just like so much, even though it was so short.
Yeah, it was very like just a lot happened, and
A
there's a
lot
lot of like
happened.
little challenges that these kids
Yeah,
had to go through just to get to this damn stone
yeah.
key.
A lot happened, but nothing happened also.
Yeah, you're so right.
And he was really just kind of
It's really
making it up
weird.
as he goes. Like it really felt like he was like, and then you meet some dogs, and then there's a giant snake, and then you get to the mountain, and there's a take it guy, who ultimately does nothing and is there for no reason other than to be scary.
Just to scare you. Yeah.
How are you? What do you feel about this book overall?
As I mentioned earlier, it feels like a fever dream. Like I know I've read it,
It really does.
but part of me is like, are you sure you did? And that could just be me like just not having finished a book in a long time. So it's very like surreal.
Fair. That's fair.
I thought it was interesting. Like there were parts of it that I did enjoy. I would have liked to have read this series as a kid
Mm-hmm.
because like I said, especially with Sandy's character, like there were just parts of her that like I thought were really funny
Really sweet.
or that I
Yeah.
just know would really resonate with me as a
As an
kid.
older sister.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. Having like an idiot brother, like that's
Yep.
my whole life. Um, but even as an adult, like I think they're pretty enjoyable. Like if you just
Yeah.
want like a quick read, something like fun, like a distraction of some sorts, then I would definitely recommend that you pick it up. Like it's not the best book I've ever read, of course.
Right. That's what I
But
was
it
gonna
was still
say.
like enjoyable.
The series gets better. Like I remember as a kid, like not even like liking this one all that much, but I know the
Really.
later ones were like stood out way more to me. Like this, like
Okay.
I'm looking at the list now. The poltergeist and the aliens and the gargoyles and
Oh, okay.
dinosaurs, giant spiders. Those ones were like way more interesting to me than this one. This one was kind of like eh, and I think it was just kind of a rough start for the series.
Okay.
Because it is so weird, like so much. It's like it's just too much to take in. Like it tries way too much, and it's too vague of a concept. Like I feel like with kids, you have to be so specific. Like each Goosebumps book is about one thing. Like it's a haunted mask, or it's a werewolf, or you turn into a bee, or some whatever. But it's like one thing. It's like not this like grand concept.
So let me ask you this. As an
Okay.
adult, let's say that Jonathan Rand wanted to take this book
Mhm.
and keep the concept, but
Mhm.
maybe like expand on it and make it even more terrifying, like for adults, would you read it?
I would read it just out of like pure curiosity.
Curiosity? Yeah.
Because of that's. I'm wondering what he would do. Well, like, would he just throw in a bunch
Same.
of curse words?
Uh,
Or would he
Probably.
like,
You'd have Sandy at the end of one chapter, and you'll never effing believe what happened next.
oh my gosh, I would, if someone just wants to take the text and just edit it and make the kids swear a lot, I would totally read it again.
Oh my gosh, that would be a really cool project.
That would be great. Oh my gosh, that'd be wonderful.
Or do like I know like some people for like TV shows or like books and stuff, they'll do like a rewrite. If someone wants to do a Michigan Chillers Mayhem on Mackinac Island rewrite and just make it like gorier and
Oh,
just
so
like
much more violent.
scarier,
Please, yes.
please. We would
Uh,
love that.
Basically, there needs to
Would
be.
that be considered like fan fiction?
I was just about to say there needs to be Michigan Chillers fan fiction. I was just about to say that we need to get on that. Someone needs to get on that at least.
We
Ugh.
should we should do that. We should
We should
like
do that. We should do
make
that.
accounts on Tumblr.
Wattpad or something. Oh my
Little, oh
gosh.
my gosh, Michigan Chillers imagines.
Jeez.
Oh, so one last thing. At
Okay.
the end of my book, it says, there's a page that says, now available official American Chillers wearables, including
Yeah.
embroidered hats,
Yeah.
embroidered t-shirts. Should we get some merch?
Oh my
I feel
gosh,
like it
we
would be cool.
totally
I'd love
should.
like a pin or something.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I'm
We could get
I
removable tattoos.
Oh, I'm looking at. Oh my gosh, pencils, bookmarks, poster. You can get a poster. I'm gonna look it up. I mean, he has a store in northern Michigan.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah. There's a map in this book. It's like just south of Mackinac City or something. Like
Oh my gosh, we should so visit it. Do like a field trip.
I would love that. Oh, all of their stuff is out of stock for chillers. All the clothing at
Dang.
least. You can buy glasses. Okay, we'll look at this and we'll come back to this. They have trading cards.
Oh my gosh, dude. We're about to go all out.
I'm hyped.
For
Yeah.
anyone listening, if you are interested in getting merch, it is americanchillers.com. And that's it. It's very simple. Get yourself some merch. Support Jonathan Rand.
Yes, please, please. Oh my gosh, you can buy the complete set of these books for like $107.
Oh, that's not bad at all. How many books are there?
I think there's about 20. Yeah, 20.
I
There's
like how
20.
his shop tab is called Shopping Mall, but mall
Yeah.
like someone's mauling at
Yeah.
you.
Oh my gosh. Okay. All right. Thanks for listening. If you stayed
Thank
this long, I
you.
know this was like I intended for this to be like half an hour discussion, but it turned into double that. So I guess we'll see what happens.
Thank you for
Um.
listening,
Yep.
and we will see you next time with
Yeah.
what was it called again?
Terror stalks Traverse. This is a Christmas themed one, which is
Oh, okay, that'd be fun.
yeah. So it's gonna be a good one. I remember this one being much spookier, so I think we're gonna enjoy it.
Okay, I'm excited.
All right. Thanks everyone. Make sure
Okay, thank you.
to subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at UMDCVN, I think is on both of them. I don't know, something like that. And stick around because we have other podcasts in the works as well.
Okay, bye everyone.
All right, peace out. See ya.